Hello and welcome. I am Sylvia Hartman, the creator of Modern Energy, and I am here today with a topical news item that I would like to give some attention to, which is quite unusual because I normally just talk about things that are not exactly in the news cycle. But there is this law of threes. I was talking about entities and the creation of entities on the Energy Show last Sunday, my live show on Sunday at 10 a.m. UK. Please do join along if you ever are finding yourself in that time and space. In the context of the development of EMO, energy in motion, talking about entities. And then the very next day, a friend of mine posted that their picture had been used by the Nigerian romance scammers to scam poor ladies out of millions and millions of dollars. And of course, the Nigerian romance scammers are also using the concept of entities to create these fake people that then ladies fall in love with. So that was the second time, and I thought I'll make a video about the Nigerian romance scammers because that is such a perfect illustration on how entities work. And then I see the headline. Google AI becomes sentient. Engineer freaks out, goes public, and is dismissed. And so that's three times the entities turned up in as many days. I thought, okay. Now with the Google sentient AI, we really now have to stop and say, all right, it is important that we start talking about entities. So what are entities? That is my term for the construct that we make to communicate with the world. In NLP, we say the map is not the territory, meaning that we have a map. That's, what a map is. And then if you pull that map down, you look across the top of it, you see the real territory. And there's a big difference between the map and the territory. And so what I have decided to use in my work is the simple fact that in order to make sense of what is outside of us, human beings, what we do is we create an entity. This entity is a representation of what we know about this object that exists out there in reality absolute, or that person or that thing. And then we go on to have a relationship, but we don't actually have a relationship with the thing. We have a relationship with our own entity of that thing. And to demonstrate how that works, my breakthrough moment when I really understood this on a bigger scale was Aleister Crowley and his demons. And I have made a video about that. I will leave a link in the description below. Check that out because it's fascinating. He had some kind of instructions, medieval instructions, how to raise a demon in a 3-day blood ritual. And what I realized when I saw that was that he didn't evoke a demon, meaning he didn't go, there wasn't a demon out there in reality absolute. But what Alistair was, he made his own. He made his own demon. He constructed an entity from the ground up, and then he went on to have a relationship with that entity. And this is what happens, what people do. And it's not just people who do that. Animals do that too. They can also create an entity out of a blanket or a favorite toy or something, and then have an emotional reaction to it, an emotional relationship with it. I mean, the example my energy mind is just flashing me up is my German Shepherd, Sunny, who saw a snowman for the first time and just freaked out. He absolutely freaked out. He barked at it and was just so afraid of it, so terrified of it, which was essentially just a lump of snow. That was all it was. A couple of lumps of snow stuck together. So that which he was having this huge reaction to was a construct inside his own world, inside of his own mind, if you will. He was barking at something that he had created inside his own mind. A monster, if you will. And if a German Shepherd does that. So this is not just people who create these entities and then go on to have these meaningful relationships with them. And in the case of the Nigerian romance scammers, what happens there is that you've got a 19-year-old Nigerian who hardly speaks any English on a burner phone somewhere in Nigeria, sitting somewhere in a house, and it's really hot and dusty and what have you. And then on the other side of the world, we have a 55-year-old American lady from Florida who thinks she's having, she doesn't just think that. She knows, she feels that she is having a conversation with a retired US Army colonel. And we can look at that and we can say, how is that even possible? Not just is she having a relationship with this non-existent colonel, this entity that she created in her own mind, according to the instructions of the script that the Nigerian romance scammer bought for $500, which simply asks questions and takes some parts of the answers and sends them back. That's all they do. They can't even communicate. They're not really hypnotists. They bought a script and copy and paste responses. And if you do that for long enough, then this entity becomes more and more dense, more and more alive, and the relationship the person is having with the entity becomes more and more and more emotional, if you will. You know, the more energy is exchanged, the more loving, the more they think about it. It just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes this person that they're in love with, and they will do anything, send any money, do anything for that person because they love them so much. Along the lines of 2 weeks in a Virginia jail for my lover, for my lover. Everybody tells me I'm a fool. And it just, how powerful that is, how powerful this entity creation is really demonstrated in the Nigerian romance scammers. Because, you know, the relatives, the loved ones, the children, everybody, the friends are all begging this person to stop. But they are saying, oh, you don't understand. You don't understand how much I love this wonderful person. And that person is the entity that they created in their own systems. And they're now having a relationship with. It's a fascinating thing. And please, I really do need to make a video about that because there's so many people who have been fooled by this. And they don't know what happened and they don't know how this could have happened. But in the world where we have actually living energy bodies, where we're dealing with energy data, and where we're actually dealing with emotion through relationships, that not only can this be explained, all the pain and suffering that comes afterwards can also be addressed. And I will do that at some point. But today, we're going to be talking about Google and the demons. And when I saw some transcripts from the Google AI's communications with this software engineer, I just took one look at that and I went, oh my God, that's just like the romance scammer. That's exactly the sort of thing the romance scammers do. They just say a few chosen, or copy and paste a few chosen things. And the romance scammers don't even speak English. The English in those notes is terrible. It's appalling. Which means that the person who constructed this in the first place just used what worked. what got a positive response, and just kept that and kept adding to it until there was this big script that they could sell and make money out of. And I would put forth the suggestion that far from being sentient in any shape or form, the Google AI may just be a really good Nigerian romance scammer with much more experience, better grammar, better sentence construction, and just much, much more experience. And that's in and of itself fine. That's harmless, actually. It's harmless as long as you keep it in the box, as long as you don't let it, loose on God knows what. That's a fine thing. But now you see, the thing is that the Google software engineer is a human being. And when he runs into a system like this, he will make an entity out of that system. Just the same way the Florida lady in her lonely apartment has made this glorious, wonderful man who will carry her to heaven in his arms and is having this glorious relationship with it. Our AI Google software engineer has created an entity. But what kind of entity is it? Is it a glorious, wonderful entity that he's deeply in love with, that he wants to send money to so the entity can buy a new telephone or get on a plane and finally come to meet him? Or did at some point doubts start to creep in? And this entity that he was dealing with started to change and become more scary. And oh my God, it knows things. It knows things that it shouldn't know about me. And our software engineer, unschooled in the way of human thinking and emotions, and of course in entity creation, because very few people know about this at all in the world. That everything we relate to is we're relating to an entity instead of the real thing, if you will. And what happens as these conversations go on and our software engineer becomes more and more nervous? There comes a moment where he's already nervous and scared, and he's sort of he's trying to keep his emotions neutral. That's what we've been taught to do. Not having any emotions at all is the answer. And of course, that isn't the answer to anything at all. Not at all. But so he's sitting there trying to keep his emotions flat as he's talking to the AI. But there come these moments when the AI says something and he goes, oh my God. For whatever reason, he's thinking that, feeling that, having that fear response, this stress response to the AI. And with every stress response, the AI becomes a little bit more demonic, a little bit more scary, a little bit more, I don't know, unknowable, weird, spooky, whatever you want to put to it, ever more metaphysical. That's a good word, metaphysical. That word, sentience, what does that mean? Ooh, God, another video. Yeah, but sentience is metaphysical. It's a metaphysical thing. He is starting to give the entity that he's creating, that isn't the program he's talking to. The program is out there. He's creating an entity that represents the program to him that he's having the relationship with. It's becoming more and more metaphysical and scary thereby, because who knows anything about how metaphysics works, really? Well, I do, but, normal people don't. People, especially software engineers, what do they know about metaphysics? Good grief. If they've even read Aleister Crowley, we should be so lucky. But I digress, or do I? Point being is, here's our software engineer sitting there, he's having these conversations with the AI. It astonishes him, it scares him, it frightens him. It helps everything, creates this entity. And then there comes this moment when he's already sort of on the edge with his entity building there. In the entity, the robot responds in some way, and he has this explosion in his energy system where he goes, "Oh my God, it's sentient!" Ah! And this is completely human. This is completely natural. And really, it is that is the place the Nigerian romance scammers are trying to drive the lady in Florida towards, where all of a sudden there's this breakthrough. And instead of just a nebulous person that might be nice, all of a sudden this entity explodes. It becomes real because she's, "Oh my God, I've fallen in love. Oh my God, this is it's a real general. And he's gonna sweep me up in his strong arms, and he's going to love me forever. A real general. Woohoo!" And that's exactly the same process that happened to the Google AI engineer. He's sitting there, yeah, could be clever, it's very smart, da 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 da. I'm astonished. Oh my God, it's sentient. Oh my God, it's sentient. But instead of the positive reaction of, it's going to sweep me up in his arms and love me forever, he's having the response of, "Oh my God, it's sentient. It's going to destroy the universe, just like Skynet." That I watched when I was 8 years old, and all the other programs where robots become sentient and always conclude that the human race is the worst thing that ever happened to the universe and we must destroy them all. And we could see robot feet stomping on mountains of skulls, And in that moment, what happens there? The AI software engineer's entity became a fully fledged demon for him. That's what happened. Now it's a demon. It's going to destroy humanity. It's going to be trampling on the skulls of newborn babies. I cannot let this horrendous process go one step further. I must tell everyone about it. I must warn everybody about this dangerous AI robot Lambda. I must tell everybody. Yes, and then he gets the sack, obviously. And people are like, "How could you be so crazy?" And that's exactly the same question is asked of the 55-year-old lady in Florida who fell for the romance scam. How could you be so stupid? Well, it's a natural process that we haven't explored properly, that we haven't looked at in any proper detail, not just how negative consequences can arise, but also how we can use this to, as human beings, to have a better life right here and now. In EMO, Energy in Motion, we firstly say about emotions to get rid of the demons that people have made of their own emotions. Look, don't talk to me about anger and hatred and fear and anger of fear and hate. Don't stop. It's only energy. It's only energy. Just calm down. It's energy flow, creating pressure points in your body. Those are your emotions. And in the context of our relationships with the world around us, we have this principle that is, look, stop, it's only an entity. Don't talk to me about demons, self-aware AIs, imaginary generals, demons, ghosts. Stop. All these things will just make you freak out, and it will make you scared. It'll upset your energy body. It'll cause you stress. You can't think straight any longer. Let's just back up here and say, okay, this thing that you're interacting with, this is only an entity. It's only an entity. Then we are in a better position to have better thoughts and ideas and discussions about it. I just had sort of a flash up of a table at Google headquarters, and I don't know, 20 Google engineers are sitting around the table, as if they ever would. I'm guessing they're all just at home and whatever. 20 Google engineers sitting around a table. And if you look sort of in a thought bubble above their heads, they've got this AI entity, and everybody's got a different one. One's got a huge, horrible demon. One's got a sexy robot lady because they kind of fell in love during their conversation with this entity, and they dream about it getting into a female form or into a male form, and they're having wonderful sex all night long. Some other person might just see a lovely box of blinking lights or a field of sort of whizzing things. And these are all the different entities that people have made of this software program that is sitting in the middle of the table. So how the hell they are going to ever come to any kind of conclusion of what it is, what it's for, what it wants? I love that, what it wants. It depends on the entity that the person has made of it, what it wants. This is really important to understand. As you guys are, dear Google people, as you guys are working with this stuff and you're creating these wonderful AIs, may I suggest to you that you get a hold of your human beings first of all, and that you teach them at least the basics of what emotions are, how they work, how they influence the way you think and feel about the world, that you should learn something about entities, how they are constructed, how reality absolute works. You know, the map is not the territory. And the more on the spectrum your engineers are, the less they will really feel comfortable and know about not just human emotions, interactions, and metaphysics in general, but even their own, and may not recognize when they are starting to put their own entity creations into the very, very structure of the software that you're writing. We need to have a chat, Google. You need the modern energy chart at the very least to get a hold of what you're doing. Because at the moment, you literally have people going out there and saying, Google is making a demon that will destroy humanity. That's clearly this. I'm telling you, this is something that you should take very seriously. That is super important as we go forward with these more advanced forms of artificial communication and artificial intelligence. It's seriously, all those guys that work for you, did they all watch Terminator? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No. But be advised, everybody is listening to this. You are relating to your environment and all the people around you through this mechanism of entities. Little children make entities out of teddy bears. Captains of ships make entities out of the ship itself. It's sturdy and it looks after me and I love it, and it will protect us, me and all the crew. It's a beautiful thing. Everybody makes entities. We need to be aware of that. And this, of course, happens with even your marriage partner of 30 years, is that you've made an entity and you're interacting with that entity. To keep those entities wide open and allow more real information to come in from all 6 senses. To keep that updated, to keep it expanding so it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and closer and closer and closer to reality absolute. That's really what we're trying to do. And in terms of constructing these modern demons, please, we have the power to construct modern angels. Helpful things. Things that don't trample on us or kill us or hate us for our creativity, but nurture and encourage us, enrich us. Dear Google, don't make demons, make angels. And please look after not just the mental health, but the emotional health of your employees, especially those who are dealing with the very high end where technology meets metaphysics. And please make sure that at the very least have read Revolution. At the very least, hang up a modern energy chart at their work to keep them stable and to realize them that there's no need to make demons for humanity. I think we have quite enough of them already. Thank you for listening, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon again. So bye for now.